1, going.
Your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
There's a man out there.
I know that show you went anywhere. Mary Poppins.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Okay.
Welcome, generals, lunatics, and soldiers, to the 80th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, featuring Death in Heaven, written by Stephen Moffat. This episode is streaming live on the 12th of November, 2014, on twitch.tv/MadMat2185. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Greetings!
You can find us at youtube.com/maninblackreviews, twitter.com/unearthlypod, and facebook.com/unearthlypodcast. You can also now support us on Patreon, where you have the opportunity to have your name featured in the podcast, plus the chance to have us review your favorite or your least favorite episode. Want to see the podcast crew on screen or more reviews of purchased material? All that and more at patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
All right. Well, as usual, our first article up is the news. And we're going to start with the teaser trailer for the 2014 Christmas special. This is essentially the same that appeared after the episode, after Death in Heaven aired. It's the commercial that was shown on BBC America and, from what I hear, BBC One, immediately following Saturday's airing.
Yep. And for those who hadn't already noticed, the trailer does feature Nick Frost of Shaun of the Dead as Santa Claus.
It also has some other minor things. A lot of people that we don't know. What looks to be some kind of green alien things that look possibly, I don't know, baby ice warriors. It's hard to tell.
They're very gooey by the look of them.
We spent a little bit of time prior to the cast trying to figure out if we could ID any special guests from the trailer. The most we can think is that there is a figure that might be, and this is completely unconfirmed, that might be Nick Frost's buddy in crime, Simon Pegg, also known as the narrator from the first series of Who, and Scotty from Star Trek. However, this is not confirmed. We can, however, tell you someone who is confirmed, and that is Jenna Coleman, who has,
a.k.a. Clara Oswald.
Yes. Jenna Coleman has confirmed that she is in the Christmas special in one way or another.
About the Christmas... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say Coleman told Style that it's written in sections and it's about dreaming what's real and what's not. Yep. According to the rumors that she's leading, the press asked her about it. She said there are no grand plans. I'd like to do some theater, get back in the rehearsal room. I think it's all about surrounding yourself with really clever, talented people so you can soak up their brilliance. By that sound, it sounds like this will be her last outing.
It might be, although she didn't. I mean, she was specifically asked about post-Who plans, whereas she didn't specifically say anything about it being post-Who. I mean, I'd still, based on the last episode we've seen, assume that it probably will be her last episode as a main cast member, but that's not to say that she's not just going along with everyone's assumptions.
It's hard to tell. I mean, she's been kind of hinting back and forth over the course of the season that she's leaving, but that could be by Moffat's instructions, who, as we've said, is a ginormous troll anyway.
And she didn't start hinting until a certain paper we shall not name started spreading rumors about it. So I think, again, she could just be going with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Moving on. The BBC has posted a end of season report, I guess you could call it.
Yep.
On their website. Bringing up, of course. Go ahead, Bill.
They've got some extra videos commemorating the end of the season, specifically regarding Osgood and Danny Pink, which do have something in common, but we'll get to that later. And they also confirmed a Doctor Who presence at the Children in Need BBC fundraiser, which is this Friday.
That's actually a tradition stemming back to the first series, by the way.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. I included. I was paraphrasing my notes, but yes, for the 10th year in a row.
Which is awesome. 10th year?
Yes. 10th year, unless they skipped one.
I didn't remember one in 2014. I mean, excuse me, 2004.
No,
that was prior to launch.
2005 would make 2014 10 years.
Oh, you're right. My math is off.
Yeah, what are you calculating, man?
In my head. And that is actually what we're going to mention next. Is there was a small preview of the Children in Need, which is of course also going to have Capaldi and Nick Frost in it as Santa Claus.
Yep.
Sweet.
And looks like it'll be a preview for the Christmas special. And I'm going to assume here they're going to be announcing the title of the Christmas special.
Yep, let's hope so, because we still don't know. And that is coming up on BBC One this Friday at 7:30 p.m. At least the Children Need special is. Where the Doctor Who will air during the special is as of yet undetermined.
And with daylight savings, that makes it... What does that make? Goddamn, I hate time zones and daylight savings.
It's
Are we 6 behind now, or?
I don't know. If time would actually be stationary like it should be every bloody time, we would be able to calculate this and actually remember it.
A Doctor Who fan said that time should be stationary.
You know what I meant.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yes,
Just because it's wibbly wobbly doesn't mean it's not stationary.
Daylight savings is rubbish. It should have been dead a long time ago.
Sometime on Friday afternoon for American viewers.
Yeah, generally Central Time Zone is UTC -6, which means that generally East Coast is UTC -5.
That's is that right? Is that now, or is that or is that what it was?
That's standard. I don't. I would think.
I think we're in daylight time right now.
No, we're on standard time right now.
We're on standard time right now.
Daylight savings time is summer.
Okay.
Daylight savings time will begin on Sunday, March 8th. So we are in the standard time at the moment, so I think that's holding true.
Okay.
To that own
Don't quote me on that.
True.
Okay, so let's go on to our viewing figures before we make this a debate.
Yep. I was both right and wrong in that Death had the second highest overnights of the season, but I was wrong in that it did fall shy of the 5.5 million mark. It ended up at 5.45. Yeah. Well, I think my estimate was 5.55 million. It was actually 5.45 million.
So you were a tenth off.
Yeah.
Bravo. It's that rating was, by the way, a 23.3% share of the total TV audience. Made it the third most watched program of Saturday night.
Yep.
Losing once more to Strictly Come Dancing and The X Factor.
It did edge out Pointless Celebrities, which has swapped places with it a few times, which had 4.9 million.
Yep.
So if it were a regular episode, it probably would have been fourth, but because it was the finale, it had that bump to get to third.
Yep. And in Australia, it averaged 995,000 national viewers. These figures are including the 5 major capital cities and regional and rural viewers. It was the highest rated drama of the day and 7th highest rated program of the day overall.
It was 7th overall and 8th in the major cities.
Mm-hmm.
As
it was 620,000 in capital without the regional and rural.
Right. As usual, these numbers do not include the time-shifted viewers.
And then, of course, we have the Audience Appreciation Index for Death in Heaven, which surprisingly only came out to 83.
I'm not too surprised because this, on the internet at least, has been kind of a Marmite episode. So I'm not too shocked at it having a split opinion.
What does Marmite mean? I'm unfamiliar with that term.
In terms of the general usage, it means you either love it or hate it. Specifically, it's referring to, I believe, a British topping type of deal. I'd have to look it up to describe it. But it's essentially come to mean something you either love or hate.
All right.
An 83 ties Death with The Caretaker and In the Forest of the Night for the 6th through 8th places of the 12 episodes.
Yeah, I was just wondering because the week before, the first part of the episode got an 85.
Was an 85, which was tied for places 1 through 3.
Which I figured if it dropped any, it would only drop by a point. That was what was so surprising. Although if you take the two together, you do wind up with 84. So.
Yeah.
All right. So
on to Dark Water, which we have the final ratings for,
7.34 million.
Yep. Watched it within 1 week of transmission, which means that like with the overnights, the penultimate episode edged out all of the other episodes this season between that and the premiere.
Okay. Yeah, that was a ratings bump, and we suspect that the final ratings for this one will be as high, if not higher. We'll find out next week.
With it being a two-parter, I'd be surprised if it's higher, but I could be surprised.
Well, also, people tuning in for the finale will make up some of that difference.
Yeah.
Just because they know it's the finale. All right, that's the end of our rating section. So next is their award section. And once again, we have another nomination, this time in the model unit and real SFX category. And that would be...
Well, they're the ones nominated, not the category.
Well, yeah, the real...
the category the category was special effects. The model unit and real SFX were nominated for their work on Day of the Doctor.
By the Royal Television Society and Cast Design Award. And I thought Day of the Doctor would have been, the previous year, but I guess it must have just missed it.
It might have come through too late for the nominations because as of this time last year, it hadn't aired yet.
Yeah. Yeah, but so only
it might have come in. Yeah, it might have come in just a little late for the nominations.
Yeah, barely missed it last year.
Right.
All right, so that covers our main Doctor Who news. Now we're down to our secondary news, and the first thing up is a bunch of eBay auctions that are being brought forth by the BBC.
Yes, and they're part of the Children in Need fundraiser.
Yes, all of it is going to Children in Need. The first award is, I think, by the actual Doctor Who crew themselves, and they are currently auctioning off a behind-the-scenes set visit for Doctor Who.
Yep. For the winner and a friend.
For the winner and a friend. It is, as of right now, it has about 3 days, 16 hours left on the auction, and there's currently 63 bids with a total of £5,500 being the winning bid at this point.
Oh, so it hasn't gone up since last night then, because when I put this together, that's where it was.
Well, you got to remember that that's still approximately $10,000.
No, yes, I'm not saying it's low by any means. I'm just, I find it worth remarking on that over 20 or so hours, it has not gone up.
I would also add, Bill, that we're in the last 3 days. The last 12 hours are when the price is going to spike.
That's true. Friday will be a huge day for it. Go ahead.
The other auction of choice is from the BBC National Orchestra of Wales, for basically spending the day with the BBC National Orchestra of Wales.
Yep.
That one has only 1 day, 19 hours left, and is currently going for £223.
That's one does
about
have
500
a few,
US.
That one does have a few
actually.
bonuses with it. The winner also gets a pair of tickets to the Doctor Who Symphonic Spectacular, one of the arena performances, as well as a Doctor Who soundtrack signed by Murray Gold. I would assume a Series 8 soundtrack, but I don't think they actually state which one.
The Series 8 soundtrack's not out yet.
True, but
as far as I'm
doesn't mean
aware,
they don't have a copy of it.
That it'll be that.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as I'm aware, it's not even on the schedule yet. So Murray Gold hasn't even begun to decide which tracks he's going to include on it. I will be talking a little bit more about the soundtracks later, after the news. In other news...
Our last bit of Doctor Who related news is that the studio set tours included in Doctor Who Experience have been extended 2 extra weeks until the 14th of December. This might be related to the fact that the article indicates the 12th Doctor's set had to be closed for some time and will be reopening, what does that say, November 24?
Yep. For operational reasons.
Right.
And I'm wondering if those operational reasons means that they might have needed to do some retakes for the Christmas special.
Maybe.
Or the Children Need special itself needed to be filmed.
Yeah.
Or if actually moving the set itself might have caused some hiccups and they needed to fix something.
It's possible, though. It is the tour is actually done on the TARDIS set studio at Roath Lock, so I don't think it needed to be moved.
You never know. When something will give.
A cybermat got in and made a mess of the place.
Just trying to find the cybermat was a mess.
Maybe there was a little bit of water damage that they needed to replace something. Don't know. That used to happen in the old series, and that would actually cause them set problems all series because they didn't budget for it. They're a little wiser about it these days.
Right. Before we go on farther, does anybody know of any Doctor Who news that we might have missed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nothing I've heard. I've been keeping my ears to the ground, trying to find any new news for anything about the Christmas special or anything, and I've heard nothing.
Yeah, or
so
series.
They're playing that very close to the chest.
They'll be holding on to that until the last couple
I've also heard nothing coming out of To Entertain at the moment, other than, of course, that the Season 8 box set is going to be due out early December and is already available for pre-order on Amazon.com.
Obviously, yes.
They've got to get it out in time for Christmas.
Yep, I've been keeping a close eye on that because I plan on grabbing that as soon as possible.
Someone make a hawk sound.
For yourself or for the con? Or
for
both?
The con. If I had the money, I'd get it for myself, but I have other priorities right now.
Right.
And I will eventually get a copy of all of it on DVD for my own personal collection, but that is a while down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on getting it all on Blu-ray.
Outside of Doctor Who news, there is one piece that ties into our discussion of the episode. Yesterday was a day known in the United States as Veterans Day, and in Europe and much of the world as Remembrance Day, or less frequently nowadays, I believe, as Armistice Day, recognizing the end of World War I, as well as the efforts put forth by all veterans. Death in Heaven was part of a weekend recognizing this on the BBC, and does feature a subplot that makes this context rather important.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, there's a wonderful soldier's speech in there.
Yep.
A couple of them, yes.
And anybody else want to say anything about Veterans Day before we move on? Anything you want to bring up? Or
nothing that I want to spoil.
Nothing really.
Yet.
Yeah, anything I'd talk about is episode related.
Okay.
I am not a veteran, so I can't say much about it. Although I do come from a family of military service.
Right. Which I think moves us on to our non-news posts, starting with the one Tim was going to discuss.
Yes, I just wanted to say last night I saw the movie The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. It's an anime by Isao Takahata, I think that's how you say his name. Forgive me.
That sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, who is probably most well known for the film Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh
Oh
my.
God.
This movie was a bit more uplifting.
Thank
but
goodness.
then again, that's not saying much.
Yeah, that's a pretty low bar to go for there on the emotional scale.
Yes,
Mind you, I would like to say that I actually do like the movie Grave of the Fireflies. It's just depressing.
Yes.
Yes, I like it too, but it is very, very depressing.
I believe our anime club once actually discussed showing it on a summer day we were going to refer to as Suicide Saturday. Or was it Suicide Sunday? One or the other.
One of the two.
Well, as long as it's alliterative. But
the other day was going to be saccharine, so.
I thought this was a beautiful film. I'd highly recommend it. If it's playing anywhere near you, go see it. I saw this in the version I saw was the Japanese with subtitles. There are two versions out. One with an American dubbed cast featuring James Caan, Chloe Grace Moretz, and Mary Steenburgen. But the version I saw had the original Japanese voice actors with subtitles.
That has to be rare shown in the U.S.
Depends on where you are. College towns will probably have it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but the thing that struck me most was the animation itself. It's almost as if it's an animated illustration.
Oh, so the art poster we have here is actually pretty accurate to what it actually looks like. Interesting.
Yeah. That's an actual scene from the movie. So it's not like a modern Hayao Miyazaki film where like it's like completely colored in digital. It's not computer generated, but it's.
So it's more traditional in a way.
Yeah, it's more traditional and old-fashioned, which goes to a. And another thing is, it's deceptively long. And let me clarify that, in that it's 2 hours and 17 minutes, but it doesn't seem that way. Because after you you see the movie, you look at your watch and say, wow, it's already this time. You know, it started at 6 and now it's 9.
One of those easy to sit through things, yeah. Okay.
Question for you. Where you went to go see this, was it a major theater or is it what would be considered an art house theater?
It would be considered an art house theater. I saw it at the IFC Center in Manhattan.
Okay.
Manhattan, that's associated with the Independent Film Channel.
Well, yeah, it would be for the name IFC. So it sounds like this is probably going to be an art house release, so you might want to check the more eclectic theaters in your neighborhood, big cities. Things like Sundance Cinemas would probably be like your best choice.
Probably, yeah.
Those kind of places. I will be actually checking their listings, probably following this podcast, to see if they have it.
Yeah, check your closer to the college town small theaters too, because they have been known to show both versions.
All right.
So you'd recommend this to anime fans in general, Tim?
To anime fans in general, and just people who are into foreign movies in general.
Okay.
General.
Alrighty.
Yes.
And the next article seems to be Randy's Big Talk.
Yes. Last night, Aaron and I also went to go see a movie. By the way, Aaron cannot be with us this evening on the podcast because she has to get up really early to go to work.
Yep.
But we went out last night, and while Tim went to go see a more outhouse production, we kind of hit the mainstream, and we went to go see Disney's latest hit, Big Hero 6.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know,
a Marvel series?
I'll have to see that.
It is based on a comic book series, yes.
Yes, I was actually about to bring that up. It's originally based on a Marvel comic book series that exists within the main Marvel universe. The team Big Hero 6 is the Japanese equivalent of Alpha Flight or X Factor, if you know the groups. It is a government-sponsored superhero team in the Marvel universe. Only it's the government of Japan doing the sponsoring. However, Disney has taken all of that, even though they hold the rights to the Marvel universe, has thrown it all out the window. Instead, they have created a custom-tailored universe for it, and changed most of the origin stories of the characters, and changed all the background information. And part of the reason they might have done this is the fact that the original comic book, Big Hero 6, which had been written for Alpha Flight, was originally written by the writing team Man of Action. If you don't know who they are, they're the ones that also created the Cartoon Network series Ben 10.
I've met them at cons. They're nice.
Mm-hmm. They're nice, but a lot of their writing tends to be a little cliched. No offense to them as people. But that's one of the main complaints that they had, is they tend to write archetypes rather than writing characters. And this being a Disney production, Disney's all about the character. So I can't say for certain. I have talked to people that have read the original comic books, and they tend to have actually liked this movie more. And I tend to agree with them. The movie has a semi-anime-ish feel. Since it has nothing to the plot, I will reveal that the city that everything takes place in is called San Francisco, and is a hybrid of American and Japanese culture.
Yeah, by the sound of it, yes.
It is a completely fictional universe, and the whole superhero thing was largely, where Marvel, where superheroes are commonplace, was not kind of listed in this. But still, it is a very fun watch, comparable in my mind to Pixar's The Incredibles, when The Incredibles first came out in theaters.
Okay.
And it is fun. I was chuckling and laughing the entire time I was in the theater. Disney Animation also has a short in front of it, which is not really science fiction, but was kind of a cute little short. You know, back in the old days when Disney did that all the time.
Oh, the golden days.
Yes, the golden days. I would recommend this movie to people who like anime, people who like cartoon superheroes, people who loved any of the computer animation that Pixar and Disney has done over the years, or anybody with a family, really. It's a fun little movie. There is a bit of a moral to the story, but it's buried enough that you will enjoy the movie regardless. It's definitely I definitely recommend it to go see.
Okie doke. And on to the next then?
Yeah, I believe that's also mine.
I think our next piece is Matt's piece, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, so GOG is doing some big sales again. The first one to notice on the very top here is the Ultimate D&D Collection. For whatever reason, they decided to use a picture of Temple of Elemental Evil, which is probably one of the worst D&D PC games. But the thing to really notice, though, is that a $105 combination pack is right now $21. This includes, as previously mentioned, the Temple of Elemental Evil, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Planescape Torment, Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2, Icewind Dale 1 and 2, and Dragon Shard and Demon Stone. I would also add that the Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale are not the more recently released high-end
no, those are the classic
versions.
ones.
These are essentially the high definition and classic versions. Yes. Also on sale for 75 to 8% off, we have Rise of the Triad, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, Jagged Alliance 2, Stronghold HD, and a couple of other ones. Just noting the more popular ones that I know offhand. And then just below this, it's different for me because I already took the chance to do it. They have Mountain Blade, the original, for free for anyone to grab up today. Also above, you'll see that all their expansions and sequels are on sale. Normally $39.97, they are now on sale $9.97. So $10 for the entire franchise, and the original for free below. Also below their usual main listing of stuff, they have for 50% off the original Deus Ex and Trine. Deus Ex I do have, but I've yet to beat. And even further below that, they have some sort of collect the stamp thing going on, which has a certain amount of time. But after collecting all 7 stamps, you can apparently, at least according to what I'm seeing here, collect The Witcher 2 and The Gamer's Director's Cut for free. And for me, it'd be worth it alone just to have a digital copy of The Gamers.
Witcher 2 is semi-interesting to me.
It's also enhanced
because-
edition, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's mostly because I'd like to gauge CD Projekt Red's work, who I believe did all the work behind Witcher 2.
Yes.
They
They also
are,
enhanced their previous one, and this is also the enhanced version of 2, which they usually tend to make fixes and huge upgrades.
CD
free.
Projekt Red is currently working on a project I am very, very, very interested in.
Yes.
Called Cyberpunk 2077, which is based on Cyberpunk 2020, which was a tabletop role-playing game I was a huge fan of back in the 90s.
I will say I don't know. I think offhand that the original Witcher was considered about average until they did the enhanced edition, to which case everyone kind of re-reviewed it as this is a magnificent upgrade. Keep doing the good work, and then when they made the enhanced edition for Witcher 2, I think about half a year or so after the original release, everyone was pretty much gobsmacked because it was yet again another huge, great enhancement, which shows that and they, by the way, did the enhanced version for free for anyone who actually had the original copy already. So it was a massive upgrade for free, out of pocket, for anyone who already previously owned the game.
All right.
So they are some darn good people over there, as far as I'm concerned, from their actions alone. So I am looking forward to getting myself into the Witcher series one of these days. Also to mention, GOG in the last month also picked up Star Wars X-Wing and TIE Fighter for $10 each. And they also apparently come with multiple versions. And that's it for GOG.
Okay. Believe I had the next article.
Yep, that brings us to Doctor Who non-news.
Actually,
with,
I would like
yours.
to. I would like to actually make another quick non-Doctor Who news really quick here. I would like to shout out a congrats to the European Space Agency for successfully landing a probe on a comet, which they did earlier today.
Yes, they did. I forgot about that. Yes, I overheard that yesterday.
Yeah, I
hope
watched
they
it
don't
on
find
the
any
news.
space vampires.
Although an interesting thing, they might not only have just landed a probe on a comet, they may have actually done it twice.
Really?
As they did have a little snafu during the landing that caused the probe to skip.
Oh, so they had to realign it and do it again.
Yes.
Well, lucky day.
It is transmitting, but they have not got pictures as of 6 p.m. Eastern today when it was on the 6:30 news.
Well, they might have something in the next couple hours, I'm sure.
Yep. It'll be interesting to find out. It's they're testing to see. They're basically checking a theory to see if it's possible that comets were responsible for bringing water and biological material to Earth in the early days of life here, or creating life here, essentially.
which is very possible. Which, yes, they finally have something there to try and check on that, which will be interesting to hear back about.
Yep. So, I will then move on to my commentary. This is not really so much of a news as a commentary. In the last couple of weeks, I have taken to listening to the latest Doctor Who soundtracks. These are the official release soundtracks by Murray Gold, and frankly, I'm a bit disappointed.
Oof.
Now, it's always frequent that there's always going to be tracks missing from these CDs. Sometimes they're my favorite tracks. One of the things that really disappointed me about the Series 4 release, for example, is there was what I refer to as the Twin Peaks cut of This Is Gallifrey, which was done during the episode The Doctor's Daughter. However, given the fact that you're basically having a 13-episode series, many of which have different music stings, it's understandable that you can't include them all on a CD. I understand that. However, one thing that, in my opinion, should always be included on a CD release for the soundtrack whenever it changes is the Doctor Who theme. And we have not had a edition of any of the modified Doctor Who themes since the new one came out in 2010.
Oh, so the Day of the Doctor theme isn't on that soundtrack?
Correct, it is not.
Actually, and the Snowman had its own theme too, didn't it?
Yeah, the Snowman basically had a version of what became the Series 7B theme, but the Series 7 track does not have any version of the Doctor Who theme on it. Nor did the Series 6 track, which is understandable since the Series 6 theme was the same as the Series 5 theme. So I understand not including it on the Series 6.
But Series 7 should have had that, damn it.
And failing Series 7, then either Day of the Doctor and Time of the Doctor should have had that new theme that they started from the Snowmen onwards. Should have been somewhere on that track, and it's not. Nor was the custom theme that they did for Day of the Doctor. I think the Doctor's the I Am the Doctor theme was included on it, but that's basically just a version of the Majestic Tale of a Madman in a Box, which was included way back in the Series 6 soundtrack. So,
in short,
while we're getting reprises and recuts of themes in the previous tracks, why are we not getting the remakes of the main Doctor Who theme, which, is the most recognizable theme
from
probably in the world? Yeah.
The most recognizable thing outside of Daleks for the entire franchise. I mean, come on.
And so I'm kind of taking this as a commentary on that and a plea to Murray Gold. Please, when you come out with the Series 8 soundtrack, make sure you include the Capaldi theme. A full version of the Capaldi theme. If you've been listening to the current version airing, you'll notice that, like the original Series 1 theme, it is missing the middle 8. And that tends to piss off a lot of fans, because there's a lot of fans that love that little middle 8 part of the track.
It is kind of synonymous with the theme.
Yes, if you don't know what I mean by the middle 8, it's the part of the track, the da 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 da, that part of it?
Right.
Yeah. That part of the track is referred to as the middle 8. And it is, when the Doctor Who theme first came out in 2005, Murray Gold thought that the middle 8 was superfluous and didn't put it, and the fans about rioted.
With darn justified good reason.
And
fuck you, Murray Gold.
And thus, when the 2006 version of the theme came out, which was virtually the same as the 2005 theme, except it included the middle 8, and the fans quieted down. So here we are, 8 years later, and once again, Murray Gold has a version of the theme that does not have the middle 8. And if it hits the CD like that, people are going to be pissed. And if it's not there at all, even more people are going to be pissed. So, learn from the past, Murray Gold. Put in the Capaldi theme onto the CD soundtrack and include the middle 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, Smeghead.
That's about it for the soundtracks?
Yeah. Murray
Just-
Gold of late has mostly, I mean, he's kind of, a lot of his themes are remixes of other themes. Like, if you take a look at the entire 11th Doctor era, how many versions of I Am the Doctor have we had?
About 10.
Yeah. And, you
I
know,
think we got a new version of that song
About
in
every
this
other
week's
episode.
episode, didn't we?
what's that?
This
I think
episode,
we got
I
a new
don't
version of
think
that song in
so.
this week's episode. There was a song
Not that I
stood out
noticed
to me.
it.
There was a theme that stood out to me, and it sounded more like I Am the Doctor than anything else I've heard.
I did have a moment where a theme stood out to me, but I will cover that later when we actually talk over the episode.
That I think that one's probably also on my mind, but
Okay.
okay. And we have one other piece of not quite news that I felt was worth bringing up. Have you guys seen the Peter Capaldi video that he sent out to I think it was the 9-year-old boy?
Yes.
No, I did not.
have not
Essentially
seen that.
a 9-year-old boy. He does happen to be autistic, but I think that is superfluous to this story.
Yes.
Was grieving for his grandmother who had recently passed, and wrote a letter to Peter Capaldi, who essentially sent him a video back, essentially to thank him and to encourage, to help him through it. I think it's about 2 minutes long. I don't have it open in front of me. Let me see.
Not
it's
even a
nothing-
minute
About
long.
43 seconds.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's not even that. So it's less than a minute. Basically just him, taking a few seconds to say, essentially, thank you for writing. Sorry you're going through this time, except as the Doctor. So, the kid, the kid, apparently it really helped the kid deal with his grief, which I can see that, and it just proves that he's not just an actor playing the Doctor. He really is, someone making that effort.
Well, it's also obvious that Capaldi loves this role.
Well,
Yes.
it's obvious that he loves this role, and hopefully he gets to flesh it
the
out a bit
people
more.
watching too.
And, Tennant, when he was in here, loved this role. Matt grew to love the role, but he didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had to
when
grow
he started
into
out,
first.
it was a job.
Right.
And then, you hear this from other actors too about people that didn't really know what Doctor Who was when they got into it.
And then when they
and
walked down the
suddenly
street,
realized
suddenly things
what-
are never the same.
Yeah, and you hear the same thing about Star Trek. Although people that are unaware of Star Trek are growing less and less. And I guess you can
Right.
say that about Doctor Who too.
Yeah.
Somebody, I think it might have been Bill, posted a Facebook message of Doctor Who themed donuts.
That would be me.
Oh, that was
actually.
you, Matt? Okay.
Yes.
Oh yes, that one donut shop, right? With all the
I
different-
want to
Yeah.
find that donut shop, and I want those donuts. Damn it! I especially want the TARDIS blue ones.
apparently, on looking it up, that donut shop is in Wichita, Kansas,
Curses!
which kind of made
Someone's
me
going
raise
on a road
eyebrows.
Randy, we need to go on a road trip now. We're going to Wichita, Kansas.
You have $600 for gas money?
Oh, if I can only just do a little time warp here and
Grand Theft Auto it.
let me
Hey,
retweak my DeLorean
I am-
here, Randy.
I am not endorsing anything illegal.
Randy, just let me
Good for
retweak
you.
my DeLorean here, and we'll even make a few
But,
prayers to Cthulhu.
What I was saying is, when I first heard about this article, I figured it was someplace like Leeds or Surrey or,
I
Kansas.
actually thought it
Stratford
was.
upon Avon.
I actually thought it was Canada for some reason. Maybe from whoever shared it the first
Even
time that
Canada,
I saw
but-
it or something.
No, this is Wichita. That is about as United States as you can get. It is like the heart of the U.S. It's like almost smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah, and they're doing Doctor Who themed donuts.
Yep.
That's amazing. It's amazing how much of Doctor Who has gotten into the popular culture. Now, Star Trek themed donuts from Wichita, Kansas, I wouldn't have been too surprised.
Right.
Yeah, that's your typical sci-fi American show. Yeah.
But this is Doctor Who. This is the British thing, and it's in Wichita. So wow.
Now we need
It's everywhere.
now we just need tokusatsu themed donuts in the middle of America.
Ryder Crumpets.
Okay.
I think it's
So-
time for our discussion of Death in Heaven.
Okay, so I guess I'm up for the summary, huh?
I guess so.
I will warn you, this is a bit long because this, after all, was an extra long episode.
Extra
And-
long and extra detailed episode.
Yes, it was. There was a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of short scenes, but
This
still
episode
important
was
scenes.
bigger on the inside. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes.
In fact, it was.
Okay. So, we open with the Cybermen we first saw breaking out of the glass in the 3W building, finding Clara. He IDs her as Clara, as Clara, but she tells him he's wrong. She tells him that Clara doesn't exist, and she's actually the Doctor. We then cut to a modified opening credit starring Jenna Coleman with Peter Capaldi and using Jenna's eyes instead of Peter's. After this, we cut out to the street outside St. Peter's, where the public seems to be treating the cyber attack as a flash mob. However, that seems to be false as Osgood shows up and the unit soldiers pop out of nowhere. Kate Stewart follows through and confront the Cybermen, who take off Iron Man style. The dome on St. Peter's opens up and a number of Cybermen join them. A total of 91, according to Missy. The same number of major population centers in the UK. One of them turns around and seemingly explodes, creating a thick black cloud, which Missy calls pollinating. In the Nethersphere, Danny's caseworker tells them that they'll all be going back to the real world soon, and they're in for an upgrade. Back in the street, Missy's rant is cut short when she's hit with a tranquilizer dart. The Doctor protests, but he's hit by the same, and before he goes out, he tells Kate to guard the graveyards. Rain starts falling from the clouds of the sky, falling rot running into graves and morgues, and soon the dead start walking. And one of them is Danny Pink, who looks at his cyber face and grabs his death certificate. The Doctor awakens shortly after in a hangar just outside a large jet where we see the TARDIS on a crane. Kate asks the Doctor who the mistress is, but the Doctor just wants to know where Clara is. Kate tells them they can't get into the 3W part of St. Peter's, and escorts the Doctor up into a plane, where the Doctor is then shocked to find out that due to emergency protocols, the Doctor has been appointed the President of Earth. In the 3W building, Clara is continuing trying to convince the three Cybermen now that she is the Doctor, dropping names in history, while a fourth Cyberman comes up behind her. Cyberman 4 stuns her and shoots the three remaining Cybermen. On the plane, the Doctor awakens Missy, and they talk about Gallifrey, and she says that Gallifrey is in another dimension, but not lost. Missy says she knows where it is, but won't tell him. The Doctor reveals that he is the President of Earth to her as kind of a one-upsmanship, and then proceeds to talk to Osgood, and she tells him that the cloud cover has now expanded over all the land masses. The Doctor then makes a left-handed offer to her to become a companion, while Missy looks on and starts fiddling with something behind her back. Clara wakes up alone in a cemetery and proceeds to search around. Cybermen start pulling themselves out of the graves like zombies in the apocalypse. Back on the plane, the Doctor and Kate start talking about the Cybermen rising from the graves, and the Doctor realizes this was Missy's plan all along. Furthermore, she has had all of time and space to take the bodies from. In the cargo hold, Missy convinces Osgood to get close and tell her a secret. The secret is she will die soon. Missy starts counting down and reveals that her handcuffs are actually in Osgood's pocket. Missy grabs her, kills the guards, and then after a bit of banter, kills Osgood as well. This is the cue for the Cybermen to start attacking the plane, causing it to shake. The Doctor realizes Missy must have escaped and goes to confront her, and as he arrives, discovers Osgood's remains. In the cemetery, the Cybermen are rising all over the place, but generally they're ignoring her, except one. Clara confronts him and reveals that her statement that she is the Doctor was a bluff. She does state that she is the Doctor's best friend, the one person she trusts absolutely and would never lie to. The Cyberman then removes his faceplate, reveals himself to be Danny Pink. Danny asks Clara to activate his emotional inhibitor so he can't feel the pain anymore. On the plane, Missy is boasting to the Doctor when the phone rings, which Missy reveals was her doing, that Clara had it in the first place, way back in the Bells of St. John. This means that Clara meeting the Doctor was a huge setup. Regardless, the Doctor does answer the phone, and here's Clara describing the situation with Danny. She asks the doctor to help her turn on his emotional inhibitor, and the doctor tells her not to do it. At this point, the Cybermen break into the plane and start killing people. Clara throws her phone away and starts trying to activate Danny's inhibitor manually. Kate comes down into the cargo bay, telling the plane is about to go down. Missy blows a huge hole in the plane, sucking Kate out, then teleports away. The Doctor and the TARDIS are knocked out of the plane, which promptly explodes. The Doctor essentially base jumps to the TARDIS and soon materializes in the graveyard. Clara asks the Doctor to help with the inhibitor, but the Doctor still refuses and tells Danny that pain is a gift. The Doctor asks Danny to tell him what the plan is with the clouds, and Danny angrily tells him that he can't do it without the inhibitor. It all boils down to Clara essentially ordering the Doctor to give her the screwdriver, and after a tearful goodbye, Clara activates the inhibitor. She then proceeds to hug Danny to the Doctor's dismay. Danny tells the Doctor that it will soon rain again, killing all of humanity, and it can't be stopped. Missy, at this point, chooses to arrive, all Mary Poppins style, and threatens to kill Clara. The Doctor stops her, and Missy apologizes for getting ahead of herself and offers the Doctor a gift: complete control of the Cyber Army. Missy hopes that the Doctor will use the army to conquer the universe in the name of good, becoming just like her. But the Doctor, reflecting on the past season, has other ideas. He gives the control bracelet to Danny, who uses it to use the Cyber Army to go into the sky and burn the clouds, sacrificing himself to save the Earth. In the aftermath, Missy gives the Doctor Gallifrey's coordinates, saying it's back at its original coordinates and that he's never bothered to look. Clara picks up Missy's device and intends to use it to kill Missy, but the Doctor takes it from her, telling it that he'll do it himself so she wouldn't have to. However, before he can, Missy is blasted and disintegrated by a lone Cyberman who points the Doctor and Clara to Kate Stewart, lying unconscious on the ground. The Doctor then realizes that this Cyberman is none other than Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart, come back from the dead to save his daughter. Later, after all this is over, Clara hears Danny's voice and finds basically a rift in space in her hallway. The bracelet apparently allows one person to travel through from the nether sphere to the real world, but only has enough power to do it once. Instead of saving himself, Danny uses it to send the boy he killed through, and with his apologies, asks Clara to find his parents. 2 weeks later, Clara and the Doctor meet in a cafe, and both proceed to lie to each other. Clara letting the Doctor believe that she and Danny are together and that he's back, and the Doctor telling her he found Gallifrey, which he didn't. They hug and say goodbyes, and the Doctor leaves. The credits roll, but halfway through, we cut to the Doctor sulking in the TARDIS, but much to his surprise, there's a knock on the door and a voice telling him that it can't end like this, and he's coming in. The door opens, and in the doorway is St. Nicholas, asking the Doctor what he wants for Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
I believe he also stated that both of you are lying and we can't let it end like this, yes.
I was trying to summarize, Matt. Trust me, that summary was long enough as it is, and I'm out of breath.
Yeah, it's not like we don't have plenty to talk about for the next hour.
Yes.
First thing I want to go into is I think in general, the promotion of this episode and the way that the episode delivered those things, specifically the opening of the episode, was generally brilliant.
Oh God, I can tell you.
The big question about the trailer for this episode: why is Clara saying Clara has never existed? Is she really the Doctor? Is she really the Master? Is she really this? Is she really that? Nope, she's just lying.
Yeah,
you
I
bastards,
know.
you trolled us. You trolled us again.
Is, when she revealed that, and I'm watching, I was ready to get angry. Plus, Clara being the Doctor did not make any logical sense.
She's the 13th Doctor.
In logic.
Which is actually the 15th. Yeah, that would make
it's hard
it 15th.
to keep count anymore.
Yeah. But no, and
yeah,
I like how the opening backed up her bluff.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Like, I actually had to include that in the summary where it listed Jenna Coleman ahead of Capaldi and had Coleman's eyes.
Yep.
in the opening credits, and that opening had to have been custom made for this episode.
Yes.
It was.
So,
Again,
her
trolling.
eyebrows are a little less fierce.
and her eyes were a little bigger in there, yes. But yeah,
Well, shoot, the way the Doctor describes her eyes, she's a chibi already.
Clara, live action anime character.
Notice me,
that's
senpai.
a discredit to her, because I've actually seen a few people that have described themselves and such, and it's kind of horrific. Nobody else here remembers Apollo Smile, who used to do the Sci-Fi Channel's anime festivals? Oh God. Anyway,
I never watched any of the.
Oh, you mean the woman that used to dress up?
commercial
Yeah, I
break
recall her.
clips or anything for the Sci-Fi
Yeah.
Channel.
anyway, like I said, I was prepared to get mad, because if that had been Moffat's, it would have been kind of Moffat's ultimate Mary Sue moment.
Ultimate Mary Sue bullshit.
And I don't put it past Moffat to do something like that.
But thankfully, we were wrong.
I must admit, I was watching this entire episode waiting for him to do something that would make me mad. Because, of course, my track record watching Stephen Moffat's episodes is generally he will piss me off at some point.
Especially his season finales.
Oh, God, yes.
Especially in season finales, yes.
In fact, he has not had a season finale I have been content with in his entire run. Even episode like the Pandorica opens the Big Bang, I had issues with River Song and they're making a Dalek plead for mercy.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
And then, of course, the whole season 6 ending, the writing of River Song, ended a season that, all in all, made me mad.
Yeah.
And then the Series 7 Name of the Doctor, I was also not very happy with.
Yeah.
The whole thing about going into the Doctor's timeline, everything seemed like such a crock. And, if you count half season, Angels Take Manhattan is also one of my least favorite episodes. As seen by the 2-part rant that we did originally when we first started back in the days where we were ambitious but rubbish.
Speaking of the statue angel, that reminds me, Stay Puft Marshmallow recently won a rap battle against the Mythbusters and the Ghostbusters.
Yes, he did.
Just throwing that out there.
But, so, yeah, I was waiting for Moffat to do something that would make me basically, pull a Sheldon and scream up to the heavens, Moffat! But it didn't happen.
Yeah?
It did not happen.
Yeah, he actually managed to play it safe enough.
Of course, he had to troll us for the entire past several years to get us to the point of being convinced he would do something like that, entirely for delivering by not doing that.
If the past several years have been him trolling us that he's going to do nothing but bad shit, then well done.
Series 6 was him trolling us so that we would think that Clara would really be the Doctor.
Yes. Okay, so let's actually talk about Missy for a moment. Or more to the point, let's talk about Michelle Gomez.
As the master.
Yes. As I mentioned last week, I didn't know where Missy fit in my scale of masters. I knew it wasn't going to be the bottom.
Definitely not the bottom. Oh, by hell no, not the bottom.
Although, over the course of this episode, she began to cement into my mind as kind of a female Anthony Ainley. Not because of deed, but because of some of the expressions she had as Missy, where I could see those same expressions being done on Anthony Ainley's face.
I honestly
I
think
have not seen any of Ainley's work. Is there what would be a good serial to
Legopolis?
Any appearance of the Master from the Fifth Doctor onward, really, including the Fourth Doctor's finale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just anything that he was actually part of.
Yeah, Ainley was the Master from
Although
1982 through the end in '89.
Although I will say that probably one of the more entertaining episodes that I've seen that I actually own that he's on is actually the Five Doctors.
Yes, he's in the Five Doctors. That
So,
would be probably one of his better appearances.
yep.
Mark of the Ronnie's another good one.
Yes, it is.
Um,
I I have seen
Uh,
Roger Delgado. I have seen him. So
yeah, Delgado's the early, and he's more of a Moriarty master. But I've
I
always
think
mentioned
I think
Ainley.
actually by actions she's kind of in the middle. If
Yeah,
you
She
count into
is.
actions.
I kind of see her as a blend of Delgado, Ainley, and Sims. I don't really see much Roberts in her, but the other three.
Well, considering Roberts had exactly one role, and
And I'm
I
not
will admit
counting
though,
Tip.
I
Well,
am not. I do not put as much hate on Eric Roberts as the internet does,
The movie
because
master,
while he
yeah.
was, yeah, when he was kind of frozen and bland in the beginning, at the very end of that, oh my God, did he proceed to start
no,
shooting?
yeah, like he's
Oh, he
definitely.
was pulling a master 110% at the end. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
putting him next to Ainley and Sims, he's absolutely in company. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mhm.
I just nothing that I saw watching this made me think Eric Roberts. Nothing that I saw watching this made me think Jeffrey Beavers.
But at the same time, even though she does have kind of a Delgado Ainley mix going, I don't see that much Sims. If anything, it's a much less part. And again, you got to remember that
She's as
this is a
crazy as
master.
Sims.
Well, that's kind of the master in general now.
True.
And I'm not sure she was quite as insane as she was acting out.
Well, I don't, did Ainley do anything to the level of the balloon scene? Jumping ahead a little bit.
Um, it's hard to tell because if Delgado was Moriarty, Ainley was Snidely Whiplash,
Mhm.
if you know that reference.
Yes.
Yep.
Like I've probably seen less of Ainley than, well, definitely less of either of the three people in this room that have seen him. But
Yeah, Delgado is Moriarty, Ainley is Snidely Whiplash, and Sims is the Joker.
and
I mean,
that's the thing, because this doctor, I mean, this master is pretty much the Joker. Like, that seems to be, I mean, not the entirety of her character, but that's a whole lot of what this character is inspired by, as she's written in this episode.
it is and it's not at the same time.
I would actually put her more along the lines of the Riddler.
Like, her whole goal being, see, you're just like me. That's
Okay,
a very
if you
Joker
want to
thing
put
to
it
do.
if you want to put it like that,
Yeah, if you put it in that light, yeah,
that
it is a
and
bit
that
Jokerish.
and if I were to think of every supervillain I know, which one would be the most likely? Yeah, you're more useful to me alive. But again, I like to pop you,
Chaos.
Joker.
Throw in a little bit of chaos, and everything goes crazy.
She just wants to watch the world burn.
because I mean, Ainley's the big shtick about Ainley is he
He wants
killed
to
the
kill
doctor. He killed the doctor once, and he got addicted to it. So his entire run after that was pretty much elaborate death traps to kill the doctor.
Mhm. Except for the Five Doctors, which was an interesting twist on him for
That
a little
and
while.
that and the occasional homoeroticism.
A universe without the doctor, scarcely worth thinking about. Yeah, he had this very interesting thing, and that's also a little bit of the Joker, even back in the Ainley days,
Mhm.
where you look at the nobody kills the bat but me,
Yeah.
and yeah, Ainley kind of had that going too. Um, so there's always been kind of a little bit of the Joker, at least since the Ainley day. I think since the post Delgado days.
Also, even though, I mean, because I could see the Joker. I mean, you don't really see him do this as often, but I think I've seen a few Joker things where he did the full Moriarty on Batman. So even there, I think there's some parallels. Just
Well,
not as often.
The Joker is kind of the Batman's Moriarty. It's his equal and opposite number. But when I mean Moriarty, when referring to the Master, he's that very much that criminal mastermind underhand.
Yeah.
He's Moriarty or he's Goldfinger or
Of course, I have to mention, I try to distance my brain from this, but the only Moriarty I've seen on screen is one that might as well have been played by John Sims, the way he was written, the way Moffat writes him. So there is that, but I mean, I know what you mean. I know what you mean enough to distance myself from that visual anyway.
Yeah, I refer to the classical interpretation. It's one of the reasons I can't watch Sherlock.
Actually, when someone says Moriarty, Delgado is what pops into my head. So our next scene after the opening, I think we get Osgood's trickery moment. I think.
And you notice
Missy's whole spiel, and then Osgood walking up on them.
You notice Osgood's gone through a wardrobe upgrade.
Yes.
She's come from emulating the Fourth Doctor, which was Moffat's way of cluing us in for Tom Baker's guest appearance later in the episode, to emulating the 11th Doctor to the point of even saying bow ties are cool.
Well, they are.
Well, I think that was also. It's hard to tell whether she was in character, like specifically saying that to clue the Doctor in as to, yes, it's me, or whether she was saying it because that's what she wanted to say.
I don't know, but yeah, it got me in the mode. We went grocery shopping earlier this week, and as I'm in the pasta aisle selecting sauces, I hear a mother talking to her kid. So, which macaroni do you want? Do you want the spirals or do you want the bow tie? And I almost had to lean over and say to the kid, "Trust me, you want the bow tie. Bow ties are cool."
And the thing is, throughout the whole Matt Smith era, I never had that. I don't know.
I hated that catchphrase.
Almost giddiness that I got from when she said it in this episode.
Yes.
Whereas when she said bow ties are cool, like the way she said it, you're like, shit's about to go down. And I never had that type of moment when he had, except for it was halfway there when he pulled out the bow tie and the snowman, but that when he was getting back into character, but that was the closest.
But at the same time, that whole scene is great, especially once Kate comes out, because Kate kind of has her crowning badass moment of awesome.
Kate kind of has her Doctor moment where she's just like listing off things about herself.
And then it's like, and yes, we're the only planet that can say this, that he's on the payroll.
And I'm pretty sure she bluffed I'm not sure if the Cybermen were going to fly away anyway, but the way it's kind of portrayed there, she pretty much bluffed the Cybermen into retreating, even if it wasn't really a retreat.
Yeah, she throws that broken cyber helmet onto the street.
Like human weapons are not effective. Human weapons are not effective. Oh yeah, by the way, here's a dead one of you. Let's fly away.
Here's one. Yeah, and that was a classic Cyberman helmet, the one that we'd seen Capaldi holding in the
in the
Thought we wouldn't
promotional
actually
photos.
ever get to see it, but apparently we did.
Yeah. Although it looked a lot more real in the episode than in the photos, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about those particular photos is that they're the artsy big photo.
Yeah,
so
but I mean,
they
in
all
the photo
look kind of
almost looked like they had photoshopped the Cyberman helmet into it.
They might have.
Well, the thing is, I think they could do some sort of posterized edges to everything, so it all looks kind of fakey-ish. So it's hard to tell.
I mean, it looked 2D. Like the photo looked like a normal photo with a flat cyber face.
No, it all looked flat to me.
And Bill just mentioned something that did kind of bug me at the start, and I've kind of dealt with it and moved on by now. And that is the fact I had came into this episode saying if those Cybermen are going to be flying like freaking Iron Man, I am going to be so upset. And sure enough,
they did it, but I'm not upset with them.
And as we were watching this, I started to break into the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes song, like repeatedly. I've had that in my head all week now, thanks to that. If you don't know the song, it's called Fight as One. You can find it on YouTube.
Gotcha. I've got to say, my only real issue with the Cybermen flying was that they couldn't quite stretch the effects enough to make it look right. I mean, I was able to overlook it as, generally being a B-movie Doctor Who science fiction fan, but it was noticeable.
I I honestly didn't see it as much worse than any of the actual Iron Man movies, to be honest with you.
Well, the thing with the Iron Man movies is that there was one suit, whereas here, I'm not sure if, there were a few of them to the point where a few of them just looked faked in unison. Like at one of them, I wouldn't have noticed it, but a few of them together, it looked almost like something you might have not quite to the level of being something you would have made in. Help me, Matt.
Help me, help you, help me.
Damn it! What you use to animate things?
Render?
You mean
I don't know.
Adobe Premiere
No, I meant
or
the
After Effects? Flash?
no.
Then I have no idea what you're on about.
We have
You
no idea what
it's
you're
for
getting at.
Steam. That you use to make things moving.
You mean Gmod?
Thank you.
The Gmod's not just for that, by the way. That's if you really want to use it for that. So it's kind of a stretch. But anyway, yeah.
But I mean, it looks almost like something you could make in there. Not quite to that level, but it was close enough.
It looks better than the Gmod models I've seen.
But again, this is only like a 3-second clip of that scene, and it was something I was able to overlook. It's not like it's something that pulled me out of the episode and made me hate it. Although I did see some people bitching about the effects, but honestly, if you're bitching about the effects, especially in an episode like this, Doctor Who is not the show for you.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember Doctor Who where the sets wobbled, so hey.
Sets wobbled. I remember when everyone
you would
was in
see
rubber
the scenes with the
costumes.
boom mic hanging off the top.
Yes.
And Patrick Troughton's getting angry at it again.
And the Doctor would pause the scene to yell at the boom mic.
You naughty, naughty boom mic! Try to reach up and smack it.
But yeah, I didn't have any real issues with the effects, and
Yeah, I will say they weren't like 100% excellent, but I will say that they were at least average for a TV show.
Although if we're talking about the flying Cybermen and the effects, I have to mention the power creep on Cybermen in these past few seasons.
Yeah, I'll admit that it.
So now what? Now they can convert you with
actually, from what they have stated in this episode, only this particular group of Cybermen could do that.
And they are augmented by Missy Tech, which is Time Lord Tech.
And yet it didn't surprise the Doctor in the slightest. He was like, any bit of a Cyberman can automatic, and I'm assuming it would have to be enough for there to be enough metal in the molecules, but still, that means that the part doing the converting, so the Cybermites, are pretty much now down to microscopic size.
No, they're down to nanoscopic size. This is yes. Cybermen backed up by nanotechnology.
Yes.
Which is not a complete and totally far-stretched idea for a Cyberman, to be honest, but...
Right.
And this does actually make them even more Borg than they've been before. As I've mentioned,
Neil Gaiman made them pretty Borg.
Yeah, well, I've mentioned it before that the Borg were essentially a takeoff of the Cybermen. They have a lot of the same themes.
And the Cybermen have now just turned around and went, ha ha, that's nice, kid, thanks for the info. Yoink.
Yep. This, of course, did culminate in one of the comic books by the company, I think, prior to the one that currently has the Doctor Who comic books, when they did a Doctor Who Next Gen crossover. Yeah.
Of course. Well, have the Borg gone as far as to assimilate dead bodies?
No, that's a new one.
Then again, this group of Cybermen, if we're to go off of Deep Breath, they assimilated a robot who had added human parts, and that made him human enough to become a Cyberman.
Yeah, that's a little iffy, but that issue myself, I'm going to fire at Deep Breath retroactively, not at this particular episode.
Yeah. But yeah, as I was saying, although it does seem like they are doing a bit of a power creep, a lot of these abilities were more or less made for this one story only because, again, the Master was involved, and it was only this particular small group of Cybermen who are now, by the way, at the end of this episode, all dead.
Yeah, except one, and I will talk about that.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
except for one, which be
But
interesting
I don't
because he
think we
didn't
have
kill
to worry
himself,
about.
did he?
I don't think we have to worry about him coming to plague the Doctor,
Plague the
Nope.
Doctor, no. But it might be
unless
leading to
unless
other
the
interesting
Doctor gets on
stories.
Unit's bad side. That would be an interesting story. But I digress.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be an internet meme about him flying through the universe stopping evil.
Is,
And if
um,
not, there should be.
is
Give
there
him his
anything
own.
in bet- is,
Give
is
him his
there
own
anything in-
series, man.
Okay. Is there anything in between this scene and the Doctor becoming president we want to talk about?
Not really, because it's kind of What scene was between that and the Doctor becoming president?
I'm trying to think.
I'm checking because my Okay, yeah. There's the awakening of Danny Pink.
Oh,
They-
yeah, because he's part of the first cyber group. Yeah.
Yes, he is, because the rain comes down, and you
When-
get that scene where it's running, and you can
When
basically
he picked
think
up
that rain.
when he picked up that death certificate, I thought he was
Mhm.
going to use it as like an ID badge.
Hello, my name is Danny Pink.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, to get a refrigerator magnet and put it on his forehead.
I just figured they were using that just so that we absolutely to tell us with a hammer who this was.
Yeah, but I kind of thought he would use it to tell another character who he was instead of just for the audience.
No, I didn't. He kind of destroyed it, so I kind of figured.
Like-
I wasn't actually figuring they would actually get beyond that room.
Well, like he destroyed it because of essentially because of what Clara was saying, but
No. He had it crumpled up in his hand before he even left that room.
yeah, but the part that said known as Danny Pink was always visible, so he could still have held that up to Clara at any time if he felt like it.
Well, would you feel like doing that to a girlfriend if you were a Cyberman? I'm pretty sure he was reluctant to even remove the faceplate.
Although he did manage to do that later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Going back.
Hello,
few
Clara.
seasons-
It's me, Danny. I'm back from the dead. We could
Sort
make
of.
out now, except I'm pretty sure everything downstairs has been cyberized.
Going back a few scenes when they announced the Doctor as president, I feel like
Yes.
in his mind he was going, another one.
Again?
Yes.
Oh, not again. I think closer to not again.
Yeah. Another one or not again. Like, I kind of get the impression he was about to be like, where's my TARDIS?
Where's my TARDIS?
I've
Where's my
got-
TARDIS? I need to get out here now. Where's the
something.
TARDIS?
I've got something important to get out of the TARDIS.
Yeah, it's also why they tranked him.
Mm-hmm.
Because they knew if they were saying, and as of per emergency protocols, Doctor, you're now the president of Earth. Come with me. He would have been no. Got to go this way. So they had him. They basically made him a captive president. Although the
Yeah.
bit where they had the portrait of Brigadier Alistair up there was great, and a little bit of foreshadowing, which was awesome.
Although the main thing that he did as president was drink tea
Yep.
and make his own tea. Who the fuck makes the president make his own tea?
Anybody that's obeying whatever the president says, get away from the teapot. I will make my own tea. Yes, sir, Mr. President.
You humans don't know how to make tea.
Although I would bring out that you generally have to elect a president and not appoint him. So wouldn't that he'd be more like a minister of Earth, More like a cabinet position
Yeah.
because he's appointed, not elected. Well, I didn't vote for you.
I didn't vote for you.
Well, he was elected essentially by the UN Security Council.
I would rather believe that he was elected by a woman laying around in ponds randomly distributing swords.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was obviously a bomb that was dropped there. And then we've got, of course, the information dump that Clara gives us in the following scene that the Doctor is, which is the first time Jenny was mentioned, even indirectly, since the episode she was in.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if Moffat has a plan
It
in
made
mind.
me pause for a moment because when I was listening, like I was, listening to it while doing other things, and I was like, wait a second, did she just say Susan was non-Gallifreyan? And I backed up and listened to it again because I was not expecting Jenny to be mentioned there at all.
Yeah, and it also mentioned her in the present tense, which was interesting because when we left that episode, the Doctor was pretty
thought
sure
she was dead.
Yes.
But Clara has also linked psychically with the TARDIS, who probably knows better.
Yep, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So she might have actually seen the aftermath of that too, then.
All right. So
I think then our next scene worth discussing is Osgood and the Master.
probably worth discussing, yes. Although
the Doctor
it
got
is
to show off to the Master.
Now, one interesting thing about the season, and I was talking about it with Randy a bit before, and it is open to interpretation, and I do kind of like that. We never actually do see when Missy slips out of the handcuffs. The only time we really see her hand is when she's messing with her bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
So it is entirely possible that she did free herself from the handcuffs. It is also possible that she pulled a Delgado and hypnotized someone into doing her bidding. Because she does make eye contact with Osgood at one point.
I don't think that's likely, however, because it really does not seem to be within the character set of this particular Master.
But we don't know that for sure because we're going by the memory of other people around her, possibly.
And and there is the fact, I mean, that's one of where the Master is the perfect villain for a Moffat story, because the Master does things like that to the point where you can't tell the Master we wouldn't even know if the Master was hypnotizing somebody in an episode unless there was a witness who stood there watching the Master hypnotize somebody. Just because of the way that Moffat portrays the story, we're essentially seeing that moment from Osgood's point of view, even though we're physically not, mentally we are.
And yes, and then turns around and basically kills Osgood, which is kind of sad because I kind of like that character.
Yeah, I liked her.
I mean, on one hand, I see why he did it, because he was essentially weakening her. Taking the one character we don't want to see die and being, oh, by the way, the Master's evil. Here's proof. On the other hand, if I had to choose Osgood or Kate, which one I'd rather see again, Osgood would be the one to live.
Huh. I would actually prefer Kate to live, but then again, that's kind of semi-loyalty to the Brigadier, so...
Yeah, there's the loyalty to the Brigadier. I just think Osgood is the more interesting character, the one that... the one that the one that comes to more conclusions, the one that's more just someone, more enjoyable to watch.
More easily attachable to us, yes.
Yep, and now the next scene after this, of course, is the big reveal that Danny Pink is Danny Pink, and I remember watching this with Aaron on Saturday, and the point where he's asking Clara to activate his emotional inhibitor so he won't feel pain. I'm like, wow, I was right all along. He's kind of actually a reverse Mickey. Mickey went from 0 to hero, and here's Danny going from hero to 0.
In a Cyberman story.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing, when I first watched this, I was kind of annoyed that when he had the faceplate on, he was talking like a Cyberman, and when he took it off, he all of a sudden got a personality again. But looking back on it, he was kind of trying to hide who he was until he took the faceplate off, like he was asking a question.
He was trying to hide it, but also I would assume that the helmet would filter things too, a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you still see even in his acting with the faceplate off, you see touches of cyber programming.
Right, but
He tends to use phrases a lot like correct.
right, but he had a lot more Danny in his speaking when he took the faceplate off. But there, there was also the fact that he was trying to get honest responses out of Clara, things that she wouldn't have said to his face. So I can see why why he added the affirmatives and other things that he wouldn't have said otherwise.
Yeah, and though you still have to wonder how much is what Clara was telling the Cybermen was also pure bluster too. The webs we weave, the webs we weave. So
Black Widow.
Then, of course, you have the scene where Missy blows out the plane and everything.
By the way, before we go into that, because this was two separate scenes and we touched on both of those scenes a little bit each, we just skipped on essentially the dead walking moments.
Yes, we did.
The creepiest, the only time I've ever seen someone actually make rain scary on television.
You've never seen Return of the Living Dead, my good friend.
I have not, but I was under the impression that was 90% comedy. I've seen clips of
50-50.
Okay, I've seen clips of it, and they were all comedic.
In Power Rangers Dino Thunder, the monsters grew bigger when it rained.
But yeah, Return of the Living Dead was
in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, Tommy Oliver, while as a regular, in his normal form, would fight against the monsters, so you couldn't take them that seriously.
Anyway, as I was saying, Return of the Living Dead is kind of a 50-50, and I would also add that when people think of zombies rising from the dead in more modern terms, Return of the Living Dead is probably the quintessential movie that actually did that. Because it was one of the few movies that I can think of off the top of my head that actually showed the zombies coming out of the grave, except for some of the Italian flicks.
Okay.
Funny enough, Romero
did you see any parallels between that and the scenes in here, or not?
Oh, you mean the Dead Rising and the scenes in here?
Yeah.
In particular, when you see some of the zombies rising up in Return of the Dead, you can see a few very similar ideas. But also, I would note that much like our opener, you can see a lot of similarities to the Cybermen Rising, as well as the middle part with Vincent Price talking in Thriller.
Okay, all right, yeah. Vincent Price actually talked at various points throughout Thriller.
In particular, the middle part.
Yeah, I had to think about it for a moment. Because I mostly remember the end part, so that was kind of...
Right.
Well, the end part was just him laughing, or at least for the video.
Yeah.
And so this pretty much takes us to the climax scenes. You have the plane blowing up, the Doctor essentially base jumping onto the TARDIS, which was watched by Missy and the AI, the case handler, as I've referred to him, from the Nether Sphere.
By the way, just regarding him, you know who he feels like he's based on, and considering how the Master acts in this episode, it's not that much of a stretch. He feels like he's based on the 10th Doctor.
It's possible.
His mannerisms, the way he speaks, the way he acts, just in general, like, I almost, I was sitting there wondering the whole time, like, who does he remind me of? I'm like, wait a second. He reminds me of David Tennant as the 10th Doctor.
Somewhat. Not that much. I actually think he's a little more Matt Smith at times.
A little bit more Matt Smithy at times, yes. But it does seem to be a AI kind of pseudo-based as a dark version of the Doctor.
Really? Missy needed a fake boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, she needed somebody to run the whole keep their consciousnesses going thing. So why not the automatic replacement boyfriend?
All right, so this takes us down to the cemetery.
Actually, could I note one thing on our way down towards the cemetery?
Yeah.
I finally caught this Doctor's freaking theme. As he's doing the dive towards the TARDIS. I finally noticed his theme for the first time. It's kind of pseudo-Bondish. It's kind of a mixture between the Bond theme and um, I Am the Doctor theme. Kind of a little mixture of
hopefully-
both.
My attention was pulled away for a second. But are you talking about the music that was playing when the Doctor was falling through the sky?
Yes.
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 It kind of reminds me of both a mixture of the Bond theme and I Am the Doctor.
What I remember watching it, and I was thinking, I was like, I think I've seen that music from James Bond things, and it's almost kind of felt like Mission Impossible.
Kind of, sort of. Well, they're both more or less the same era.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to listen to it again to be certain. I've bitched about the music being a little understated through most of this series.
Well, this is the first time it was actually in the forefront, and I generally enjoyed it, and I thought it actually enhanced the scene for a change.
Okay. I'll listen to it a little more. So now we're down to the final, the climax of the scene with the Doctor, Danny, and Clara, and eventually Missy in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Here, once again, the second the Doctor shows up, Danny immediately goes hostile.
Which is another sign of why we don't care much for Danny. Danny's got kind of a self-righteous ego whenever the Doctor's nearby.
Yeah. He has a massive hate on.
Yeah.
And I can't really
I get
tell.
the impression from this two-parter that he's just not that bright.
Yeah, he's a bit of a dick, to be honest. I can't really tell if he really needed to have the emotional inhibitor turned off to answer the question about the clouds, or if he was just being a jackass. And, the thing is, with all of humanity on the line, you really can't afford to be a jackass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just the thing.
And he really is, and, so good riddance.
Yeah, I can't say I still miss him at all.
Like I think I ended up not writing it down, but when I was watching it, I think there was like a Danny stupid thing counter in my head.
Yeah.
Ding ding.
It started with him walking into the middle of the road, which I did notice on my second watch through.
Yup.
I pointed it out right in the summary last week.
Him not having any clue of what to say to get Clara to believe it was really him. Like, I feel like if you've been together for that long, you should have something.
Actually, I love you was the right thing to say, but it should have been followed up. That's the last thing you said on the phone before I was hit by the car.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
exactly.
If he had done, yes, he could have easily taken that and made something of it. But he's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know the name of the restaurant.
That's why he really kind of hits me.
He had me convinced he was a fake.
Yeah.
He hits me as being Mickey more than Mickey was.
Yes.
Really, I mean, he's Mickey. I've said this since the beginning. He hits me as being Mickey with, a tour in Afghanistan.
Oh, and then there's later on in this episode, he's holding essentially a mass mind control device, and he says, "This is not the order of a general, but
Yes,
I'm going to give you an order, and you're going to follow it."
Still, I watched that scene, and my original thought for the bump was to intersperse that and the scene from Braveheart with Mel Gibson talking in front of an army, and the scene from Independence Day with the president talking in front of the pilots. And I'm pretty sure I could have found another couple of references to throw in there.
Take
Lord of the
brawl.
Because it is kind of such a cliched theme, only this time you have Cybermen. And then, of course, they all fly up into the sky and blow themselves up.
And the Cybermen don't care. He's talking for himself.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have, the appearance of the last Cyberman standing, which turns out to be Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge Stewart.
Yes. And by the way, I've seen people online saying that this came out of nowhere. They must have mentioned the Brigadier at least 4 times in this episode before he showed up.
Yes.
Yes, they did 3-4 times.
At least, possibly 5 or 6.
I'm still
I'm glad they didn't actually say at the end. Look, it's the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart.
Although I did see one person online saying, "I wonder who that last Cyberman was." I think
Dumbass.
it's Wilf.
No, the thing is, he actually mentions at the portrait on the plane earlier. Oh, I see you brought father along, and it's
Yes,
like, yeah, you realize his lifelong ambition for all he knew was to get
Yes.
you to salute him.
And that wasn't even the first time he was mentioned. He was mentioned, I think, twice before that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, and was mentioned once after, was referred to as the daughter to
Yeah.
Kate. So yes, there's a ton of Brigadier references in
Like-
here.
Very much so.
And the fact that they did it's like, oh god, that suddenly makes a lot of sense. Erin didn't get it either originally. I had to tell her who it was, but it just hit me. I'm sitting here watching this with my jaw hanging open, going, Moffat, Moffat, you freaking bastard, and not in a bad way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be honest,
And
I was at first
that
kind of
was
like,
also-
I don't know how to take this, and then he just flies
that
off.
was also one scene where Capaldi, I mean, he was classic. Like, I could see every version of the Doctor that came before him acting that scene the exact same way he did.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we have the follow-up scene with Danny and the Rift, and if Danny had come to that Rift, it would have been kind of a letdown.
And I
Yeah,
have
it
a few
would've.
issues with that scene, and I think it's largely the way it's portrayed. It used a different visual effect than any other time we'd seen the bracelet used.
Yes, but you notice that almost
They
every
described
time
it
we've seen
moving. Go ahead.
every time we've seen a visual effect in this episode, it's been different. If you take a look when Danny blows up the Cybermen earlier in the episode, it's a different effect than when the Brigadier Cyberman hits Missy
Yes,
in the
but
scene prior to this one.
That one I think is because that one's intended to be ambiguous. It was almost but not quite the teleport effect. But every time she's used that a bracelet, there was a blue teleport effect. Even if it was subtly different there, and I do think that that's the reason why they had the Brigadier kill him instead, was because of that blue effect. I mean, kill her was for that blue effect, even though it was a different blue effect.
It wouldn't matter
we
anyway.
We see a white gateway, and then Clara describes it as moving between worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And those two things together really threw me off on this, because it didn't feel like they were talking about the Nether Sphere and doing what Missy had been doing. It just felt completely out of left field, like, oh, and by the way, he's actually coming from heaven. It was like, what the fuck? And I think I had to talk about it with you before it really sank in, like, what they were trying to get across, and didn't bother me quite as much.
I got it right from the beginning that it was that it was creating some kind of gateway from the Nether Sphere, and I don't think it was the regular method. As he was mentioning it, that they were running out of power, so that might have been the only way it could have worked.
Yeah, but I kind of take that as because he died wearing it rather than teleporting by pressing the button.
That might be too. Well, either way, it sounded like the Nether Sphere was shutting down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then he chose to bring the boy through instead of himself, which again, it basically was the basis of his character, was all the guilt on this boy.
Well, he sent the boy through so that he could become the next Trevor Song. so that he can be the one living on in data form with a whole bunch of nameless red shirts living with him.
Right. And then
And
okay,
Steve
so then
Jobs.
you get the cafe scene where they're both lying to each other.
And just that look of, I fucking knew it. And then
Yeah.
just absolute grief on the Doctor.
Yep. And then you get the hug, and I'm of the opinion that they both kind of knew that the other was lying.
I
Possibly.
don't think so, because if they knew the other was lying, they'd have no reason to lie themselves. Like it was one of those classic, they're lying to protect themselves. They're lying to so that the other one doesn't know how hurt they are, so that the other one can go on and live a happy life.
If
they think they're not making the other one happy, they wouldn't do it.
It's kind of the look on the Doctor's face when he does that "never trust a hug" line. Because you can't see the face.
Yeah, but I think that was because he as he was hugging, he was also displaying his own grief about not really being able to go back to Gallifrey while saying that he could.
Okay. Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that. And
think
I
I'm
don't
more
think
on
there's
Bill's
I don't
side.
think there's
Yeah.
really enough on the Nick Frost scene to really discuss about at this point.
True.
So
No,
Other
yeah,
than the fact that
was
he
pretty
looks the
much there
part.
to break the fourth wall and to tease the special.
yeah, I mentioned earlier to Aaron that if that had been the 10th Doctor in that scene, it would have been another what
Yes.
moment.
Spe-
It was perfect
Although, yeah,
for it,
speaking of
but
when the 10th Doctor first broke the fourth wall, they literally broke the fourth wall by driving a Titanic through it. Here
Yep.
they had the Doctor.
oh
they had
no,
this-
no,
they had
that
Santa,
wasn't
they
that
had
wasn't
Santa
the first
walk
time they
through
broke the
fourth
fourth
Doctor.
wall.
You're right. It was the second. It was the second. Well, wait. I don't know. Wait. What are you referring to?
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
I might be confused. Anyway,
Okay. But yeah,
Okay, we've
actually,
got about
here Santa actually physically walks through the fourth wall. So
no, he walked through the TARDIS doors.
yeah, that's what I mean.
That's not walking through the fourth wall.
The fourth wall. Well,
The fourth wall is
kind
right
of
in front of
is.
him, man.
In context, the fourth wall is the TARDIS doors.
You're lying!
He's speaking from behind the camera the first time he speaks.
Yes,
and
but
then they move the camera
fourth
around.
wall. The fourth wall is the barrier between our world and the fictional world.
Which is the metaphoric function that the TARDIS door performs.
Yes, but when they change the camera to him coming through the TARDIS door, it's no longer the fourth wall, so it doesn't
Yes,
count.
that's what I mean. When they turned the camera around, it was...
Anyway, we have about 5 minutes left before we do our normal stuff, and I would like to take a few minutes to talk about theories. Because I have a couple.
Theories about the Christmas special?
No.
Oh.
Ongoing theories from the end of the series. New theories.
Oh, like as to what Series 9 will be, or...
Not necessarily series stuff, in-universe theories. I'm going to state 2 theories I have right now.
Okay.
I've mentioned at least one of them to you, Bill. I might have mentioned both of them. The first theory I have is that Missy is not really dead.
Oh, obviously.
Well, yeah, Moffat
And-
has pretty much said as much.
But let me explain why. Let me
Okay.
explain how they can explain it out. Even assuming the fact that the Brigadier Cyberman shot Missy with a disintegration ray, you have to remember that would mean that Missy died on Earth
And went to the Nether... Yeah, you discussed
and
this
went
one.
to the
Oh.
and went to the Nether Sphere. Now the
Exactly,
Nether Sphere
yes.
was set up by Missy, and if she didn't have another back door in it, it wouldn't be the Master.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to
Probably
back
a
that one
backdoor
up
meeting.
with... I'm going to back that one up with also the fact that a Cyberman gun of essentially... that Missy had essentially upgraded, shot her, and had a different visual effect than the previous time a Cyberman had shot someone, highly indicating the idea that it might actually be a transport array instead, at least when it hits her.
Yes, but mind you, it did not have the same effect as the transporter ray
No,
when
but
she
it,
beamed off the plane. I
right,
looked for that.
It did not. I meant to go back and look, but I was 90% certain anyway.
I did.
Because I know
The blue dust
Right.
trickled down like you would expect disintegration ray. The transporter ray earlier was a blue-white effect
Yes.
and seemed to be rising.
and I noticed
Like
I
you would
noticed
expect
that
a beam.
I noticed that the one from the Brigadier almost looked like flash burning. The blue, whereas I was pretty sure that the actual transporter effect had not done so.
Yeah, and it looked the same as the red disintegration effect that Missy had been using on her device, other than that. Okay, so that's my theory. And that's my theory for an out.
Okay.
The second theory I have is on the location of Gallifrey.
Yes, you talked to me about this as well.
Yes.
Okay.
It's my theory, so let me say it.
Okay.
All right. Remember the fact that we mentioned Missy's like the Joker or like the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
Missy doesn't like to lie when a twisted version of the truth can be told. Or at least the Master doesn't. I'm pretty sure it holds true for Misty. Missy said 2 things about the location of Gallifrey in 2 portions of this episode. When the Doctor mentions the fact that Gallifrey is lost and in another dimension, she says, in another dimension, yes, but not lost. And then she gives later on the coordinates of Gallifrey 10, 0, 11, 0, 0 by 02 from Galactic Zero Center. That's the traditional location of Gallifrey. But when you put these two pieces of information together, that means that Gallifrey is at those coordinates but in another dimension. Now, in Doctor Who history, there is one parallel dimension that has those same coordinates in another universe, only to the negative value.
Oh.
And that is the exospace time continuum, known as E-space.
Mm-hmm.
True, those locations are actually held by the planet Alzarius, but that could mean that Gallifrey is right next to it. Now, there are only 3 people in Doctor Who knowledge who would know how to get from E-space to N-space. One of them is the Doctor, the other is Romana, and the third is the Master. The Doctor and Romana know it because that's how they got from N-space to E-space and how the Doctor got back.
Yep.
The Master would know it from Legopolis, which we reviewed, in which he helped stabilize the remaining CVE to E-space and tried to hold the universe ransom for it. And this, of course, after killing a third of the universe. But he would know where that CVE lies, and therefore would know where it would lie on the other end of it, which would explain how Missy got from Gallifrey to the real world in the first place.
Now, I would add to that, it's even if it's not E-space, it is also entirely possible that it's one of the other various other universes that Doctor Who has ventured through. Although E-space is the one with the most history and the one that would have the most good reason for it to be.
I'm going to say that is my speculation. And I'm going to hold it at that. Those are my 2 current theories leaving Series 8. And with this, we can start moving on to final thoughts. And, okay, there's only 4 of us today, so I will give final thoughts in the order of which you appear on my Skype.
Oh, never mind. That would probably have been a rating, so never mind. If she gave you anything, that would be later.
Yeah, that'd be in a little bit.
Yep, okay, so, Tim. Your final thoughts on this episode, or the last 2 episodes combined?
This episode really brought up my opinion of the entire story. I liked this episode a lot better than Dark Water. In my opinion, any story where the forces of darkness are conquered by the power of love is a good story. I kept getting reminded of different things. The scene where Danny takes his faceplate off reminded me of the scene in RoboCop where he takes the helmet off and looks at his face.
A little bit, yeah.
I got a heartwarming feeling at the end when the Doctor saluted the Brigadier, fulfilling his lifelong ambition.
Yeah, I'm just pissed that Moffat did it before I could, god damn it.
I was I have no excuse for this. I missed the fact that the Doctor lied about finding Gallifrey. I thought he actually had found Gallifrey.
Nope, he opens the door and there's empty space there, and then he proceeds to get angry and beat up the TARDIS console.
Oh, so that's why I was doing that.
Bad Doctor, why, what'd the TARDIS console ever do to you? Yep.
But,
so, any other?
And I'm sure we'll see the Master or Missy or someone in some form soon again. And
I am hoping it's still played by the same person. I like her.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she did a very good
Great
job.
that we can find Gallifrey will be found the second star to the right and straight on till morning.
Still, the way he's talking, if he finds Gallifrey, that's the end. He goes home and stays home. That kind of sucks.
Uh,
I don't think that's
Unless-
actually something he's going to do.
I feel
This
like it's
Doctor,
never
no.
that simple between him and the Time Lords.
No,
True.
it never will be.
It'd be great to have
they
an
would-
episode that comes back and it's like, yeah, I was planning on staying, but I forgot how much bunch of dicks you are.
I think that he has one episode there, probably without a companion, and then they chase him off.
Okay.
But
He proceeds to
that's
see
my-
how much of a gaggle of bastards they are and decides, you know what, you're all not worth it.
Okay, let Tim finish.
I'm pretty much done. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Matt?
So yes, essentially taking a little bit from last time and all of this one. I was definitely getting a nice zombie vibe with some of the stuff here that was posted in here, which is nice. It helps with me in particular because it's just after Halloween. Time for something really interesting that we haven't quite seen before, but in certain ways we have, and that's a nice little twist on it. I do like this new master. She is definitely a keeper. I like the fact that I can see multiple masters in her too, as well as her own little psychotic wit.
Alright.
The Brigadier twist I'm still kind of iffy about, but you know what? It's better than just leaving the Brigadier dead. I have a little plot twist with him, and maybe something might be done about that. Also, I have to say, yeah, I'm happy that she wasn't the Doctor. The whole opening bit tricks and everything. Trying to think if there's anything else. Nothing particularly off the top of my head at the moment. Yeah, some of the effects were a little iffy, but you know what? Overall, I still can't say they were by any means bad. They were just sort of average for TV.
Alright. Bill?
I just did something to piss you off, but I don't know if you saw it or not. Otherwise, though, this episode, I mean, in this two-parter, we had an episode of twists and revealed, followed by an episode of climaxes and build-off. And I've got to say, this is definitely why the two-parter should remain as a part of Doctor Who. And I've definitely got to say, the director, I'm sorry, I don't have her name in front of me, but I believe her name Rachel Talalay, if I'm remembering that right. Definitely a step up from the previous work of hers that I've seen. Granted, that was her first feature film, but definitely a much of this almost makes up for Freddy's Dead.
It's her?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
And yeah, I do know a little bit of her background, and Freddy's Dead is not her fault, man. She was kind of shoehorned.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I figured,
yeah,
but,
that's actually that's interesting. Okay.
there were a few things that tweaked me in this episode, mainly that ending, but it doesn't even bother me as much as it did when I first saw it. And that's, after talking about it, after watching it a second time, I get it a bit more. I get what they were going with. I still don't think they went about that one scene the right way. But still, that's one scene out of, what, an almost hour and a half, between an hour and an hour and a half, episode / movie / whatever you feel like calling it, two-parter. So altogether, I think it was a success. This is our second season in 3 years. I mean, 3 years. I don't know what I'm saying. Our second season in 50 years to have Cybermen, Daleks, and the Master all feature in the same season. Now, granted, this one does not have the Ronnie, but I think it's still a little better. Well, I think this is still a little overall better as a season than season 22 was.
Yeah, we'll see once we actually get to rate all the episodes. Are you done, Bill?
Yeah. I
All
think
right.
that's the gist of my final thoughts there.
All right. So, like I mentioned, I came into this expecting at some point Moffat would do something to make me mad. Thus far, that hasn't happened.
Thus
Um,
far.
I don't know about the whole Santa Claus thing. We'll see, but I'd hold that against the Christmas special if not this, but instead of this. But this is the first time since the RTD era that I have ended a season happy. So this is red letter time. This is the first time I've had a smile on my face coming out of an episode since Journey's End.
You mean a
So-
season finale episode, not counting
Yeah,
special?
since a season finale episode, since Journey's End. I've loved most of the season enders in RTD era, and I've hated them in the Moffat era. As much as they'd make me sad, I still loved them as episodes, So, and this made me come out with the same feeling. It made me smile. It made me hopeful. And so, yeah, I'm unbelievably kudos to Moffat right now. And this is for somebody who has threatened to kick him in the dick repeatedly.
Oh,
So-
I guarantee you, if he doesn't stand down sometime soon, I might be liable to try and find a way to swim across the pond, as they call it.
So we're going to points. Aaron had talked to me prior to this and has given the episode a 4.5. She said it had an epic feel, but not as epic as Day of the Doctor. So, Tim, your score.
I'm gonna agree with Aaron and give it a 4.5. It's a great episode, but I don't feel comfortable giving it a full 5 stars. But the 0.5 is because it had Santa Claus in it. I love Santa Claus.
Oops. All right, Matt.
Gotta think of this whole thing as a whole now. The Cybermen were very well used. The Master's very well used. Also, a nice return to form from the Master as well. The Cybermen were actually creepy again, which has been a huge boon to them for the last couple seasons, is that they're back on their throne of being one of the better villains for the franchise. Right next to the dogs where they belong. I'm trying to think what else. I can't find any major flaws in the plot, which is usually predominant with Moffat, but I don't see them, so good there. Kudos there.
Matt, get to the point. We are running low on time.
Yeah, other than a little bit of nitpicking on effects, I really can't say anything overly negative about these two parts, so I'm gonna have to be overly nice and give it a 5.
All right. Bill?
Well, as a single episode, it would almost be tempting to give it a 4.5, somewhere in that range. But a high 4.5 combined with the likely 5 that I was seeing at the end of the previous episode averages out to well over 4.6, 4.7. So the Dark Water, Death in Heaven is ending up with a 5.0 for me.
All right. Likewise, I am going to give this a 5.0. I do agree with Aaron that it is not as epic as Day of the Doctor, but it is close.
It's very
If we were doing it by tenths, it would probably be a 4.8, 4.9. Either way, that's over 4.75. It rounds to a 5. 5.0 from me. Kudos to Moffat for making me pull out a 5.
That actually ties this story with Time Heist for the highest overall. They each end up with a 4.8.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
That's pretty good. It also means that our average score for Series 8,
Has just hiked up a little bit.
it's 3.48 for the season.
So it was just above average for the season.
Yeah, there were some ones that, Kill the Moon kind of dragged down the rating.
Kill the Moon and also Listen.
Yep.
were real
But
killers for this season.
that still gave us a season with where a 3 was one of the lower ends, and the majority of the episodes were above a 3. So.
Yep, and unfortunately, we're going to have to cut it really short here because we have less than a minute left.
Yep.
So next week, what are we doing, Bill? Are we going to do Troughton?
We'll be probably talking about that after the podcast.
So
Okay,
we'll
so
see you all next week.
We'll come up with something next
Yep.
time, same day, same time. Tune in. We'll have something.
See you later.
Bye-bye.